Hello, my name is Stephen Denman. My organisation is Shining Guidance. My website is shiningguidance.com. I'm going to talk to you today about the connections between autism spectrum disorder, ASD conditions, and lucid dreaming. Now, we know that over many years there's been numerous dream questionnaires that have been used by schools, colleges, and universities, and also certain research institutes around planet Earth, going all the way back to 1984, 1985, 1986, and 1987. And thousands of these were sent out over many, many years to create a data aggregation process where children and adults with autism spectrum disorder or ASD conditions ask specific types of questions in regards to their dream states. And what on average seems to have come to light on pretty much every occasion is that around 75% to 79% of those participants with autism spectrum disorder or ASD conditions were apparently consciously aware that they were dreaming, and explained that they regularly had such an unusual sleep state experience where they were realistically interacting with their dream environments and touching and smelling and tasting, hearing different intonation patterns of different people's voices, remembering facial expressions and so forth. That really this would define what's now known as the esoteric process, which is called lucid dreaming. Now, the children and adults with autism spectrum disorder ASD conditions who answered these dream state questionnaires experienced rapid eye movement or REM sleep, which is a phase of sleep that both birds and mammals have, and is characterized by sporadic and quickened motion of the eyes, which is accompanied by lower muscle tone whilst the body is in a state of rest and sleep. Now, during this phase, the sleeper will also have very, very vivid and highly realistic dreams, and hence they are lucid dreaming because they're fully interacting with the environment around them and they have almost a completely detailed remembrance of everything that took place and felt like it was really an alternate version of the 3D holographic reality of this material dimension here on planet Earth that they've chosen to incarnate onto. So, going on from that, we understand that these same questionnaires revealed that participants that were in these studies with autism spectrum disorder ASD conditions had very intense and repetitive recollections of being able to lucidly dream into their environment around them. And they also found that during the same studies going back to 1984, 1985, 1986, and 1987, that they had minimal numbers of nightmares and really had very minimal levels of negative emotional responses in those lucid dreams, such as fear, for example, or anger. So those participants who were part of these studies and had and still have to this day autism spectrum disorder ASD conditions also reported fewer periods, over a set number of, say, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, whilst these dream questionnaires were being sent out and then were being submitted and resubmitted with new questions being asked all the time. Whether they had sort of small periods where they couldn't remember, where they didn't feel it was a lucid dream. And again, there was minimal periods where there was not a state of lucid dreaming taking place. So if the individuals concerned who have autism spectrum disorder ASD conditions sort of react in a certain way in these dream states, it's probably because it's a reflection of their own neurocognitive aspects of their own neurological condition. In other words, having autism spectrum disorder or ASD conditions acts as a psychological filter. So that in itself is interesting to take note of. Now, during a lucid dream, individuals of autism spectrum disorder ASD conditions may gain some amount of rudimentary control over the dream characters and the narrative and the, shall we say, the urban environments or the landscapes in a more natural setting around them. However, this is not always necessarily the case in a deeply subconscious lucid dream state. However, it is more than likely that they will take control over the dream characters and the narrative and the environment around them, and that becomes increasingly tangible and authentic in nature over a period, say, of 3, 6, 9, or 12 months. And as they go in being from children to being teenagers to being adults, that can progressively increase and the dream states become even more profound. It is interesting to note that many individuals who have autism spectrum disorder ASD conditions say they have experienced also, shall we say, some kind of perception concerning the 4D holographic reality of the astral plane whilst they are lucid dreaming. Hence, this indicates that many children and adults with autism spectrum disorder or ASD conditions are more likely to therefore enter into the 4D holographic reality of the astral plane whilst they are sleeping, because such individuals have really quite profound cognition. They are fully conscious during these kinds of etheric based events. So, again, another interesting point to take note of there. It is also known and has been known for many aeons that the Ojibwe Indian astral guide, shall we say, called Waban, quote, Bagakasigi, and also another Ojibwe Indian astral guide called Nawa Kamig Zagaso, and also a Cherokee Indian astral guide known as Dega Taga Juhi Vidlivi, and also another individual in the same Native American tribe called Onakona Gano Hilvasiv. Now, these four individuals regularly communicate spiritually on a telepathic level with individuals who have autism spectrum disorder or ASD conditions. Now, it's not just it's not just these Ojibwe Indian astral guides or these Cherokee Indian astral guides that are doing that from the 4D holographic reality of the astral plane. There's many other Native American Indian tribes doing exactly the same, but from obviously the 4D holographic reality of the astral plane, not here obviously physically on planet Earth. So that's also interesting to note, and it seems that there is a direct connection between telepathy and many of the American Indian tribes, not just the Ojibwe and the Cherokee, but many others as well. And whilst they were more, shall we say, physicalized corporeal beings here on planet Earth, those telepathic abilities amongst those Native American Indian tribes were very powerful, were very intense, and when they passed on from being incarnations in the 3D holographic reality of this material dimension, and then they transitioned electromagnetically into the 4D holographic reality of the astral plane, they became literally American Indian astral guides there. And many of them consistently resonate and connect telepathically with individuals here on planet Earth who have autism spectrum disorder or ASD conditions. So we know that many individuals with autism spectrum disorder ASD conditions have also done a lot of astral traveling during their lucid dreams without even realizing it. And according to many of the Native American tribes, human beings experience the other world in those lucid dreams because they believe that everything is alive and connected to everything else, both within and beyond linear space-time. Now, any evaluation of the lucid dreaming phenomena must take into account the fact that individuals who have autism spectrum disorder ASD conditions are highly advanced natural lucid dreamers, but most of them are just probably not conscious of their abilities or interactions with American Indian astral guides or with any other kind of spiritual teachers who reside in the 4D holographic reality of the astral plane. So I think I've given some very fascinating information here. I think it's certainly the kind of subject matter that I'm not seeing really anywhere on the internet, making direct connections between those individuals who have autism spectrum disorder and lucid dreaming. We know that it's very potent for many individuals, both children and adults who have autism spectrum disorder or ASD conditions. We know that they find being, shall we say, human beings here on planet Earth a real psychological struggle. We know one of the reasons perhaps that they are able to retreat into these very deeply subconscious dream states and go into this lucid dreaming in an alternative version, shall we say, of the 3D holographic reality of this material dimension. It's a way of them escaping, but it's therapeutic for them. It's a form, shall we say, of etheric-based self-healing, and therefore it's an etheric form of, shall we say, energy and spiritual healing that's taking place in their own subconscious minds. And obviously, American Indian astral guides are helping with their spiritual development, and also while they're on their incarnation journeys here on planet Earth, they're preparing themselves, like every human being will do at some point, to pass on from this world and to go back to the universal creator of heaven and earth and every eternal parallel dimension, parallel reality and parallel universe forever and ever. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this video as much as I've enjoyed presenting this information to you. There'll be many more videos to come in the near future, and I'd like to say take care everybody, and I will speak to you all very soon.